We hear a woman trying to learn some English words, and we see her eye, and later we see a motorcyclist. He rides his bike through the mountains and goes to a location and picks a girl's body and carries it to a van. He puts the girl in van and delivers it to a woman who removes her clothes and wears it herself. The woman gets ready and sees the girl crying and leaves from there and goes in her van. The motorcyclist also leaves from there, and it looks like he works for the woman and the woman drives. She goes to a mall and sees many people there and does some shopping of clothes, shoes, and makeup. She applies makeup in her van and gets ready and starts driving her van in search for a prey. She is finding a man who she can take back home and looks at many men on the road walking. She drives for some time and finally meets a man and asks for an address, and the man explains it to her. While talking with him, she comes to know he is not alone and meeting someone for work, so she decides to leave him. She then drives and meets another man whom she gives lift in her van and starts talking to him. She comes to know he has a family, so she leaves him and finds another man and asks for address. She sees he is with someone, so quickly drives from there and meets another man and gives him lift. The woman flirts with the man and comes to know he lives alone and doesn't have anyone with him. She feels happy and tells the man he has a lovely smile to make him feel good, and he gets happy. She flirts with him more and the man blushes and smiles, and the woman invites the man to her house. They go inside, and the woman starts removing her clothes, and the man also follows her and removes his. He starts walking towards the woman and starts sinking in the black floor and completely vanishes. The woman picks her clothes and wears them and goes out and starts driving again to find next victim. Next day she goes to beach and sees a family enjoying and their dog playing near the water. She sees a swimmer who comes out of water and asks him about surfing and his name. She comes to know the swimmer is alone and here on a vacation, and suddenly they hear noise. The dog is drowning and the owner goes to help her and her husband also goes to save her. The swimmer rushes to help them and the man tries to go near her wife and dog but cannot reach them. The woman and dog drown and the swimmer manages to rescue the man and brings him back to shore. The man gets up and rushes back in water to save her wife and the swimmer is tired and rests on beach. The woman comes to the swimmer and finds a rock and hits him in head to make him unconscious. She then drags the body to the van, and we see the couple's baby crying, meaning the dad also died. She drives the van back to her house, and the motorcyclist goes to the beach and retrieves the couple's clothes and their other things. He ignores the baby and leaves it crying on the beach, and at night the woman goes out to find another victim. She follows a man and sees he is with someone and decides to leave, but is forced to go in club with a girls' group. Inside, she sees many people dancing and decides to leave and goes downstairs and meets a man. He flirts with her and she comes to know he is alone, so she invites him back to her house. He removes his clothes along with her and starts following her, but starts sinking in the black liquid. She walks away and the man is confused and wonders what is happening and suddenly sees the swimmer. He tries to talk the man and even touches him and sees something moving in his hand and is surprised. Suddenly the swimmer's body collapses and there are no bones in it and it floats and we see a red mass. It flows on a conveyor belt leading to a tunnel and next day the woman goes out to search for a victim. Later, the woman receives a rose from a street vendor, purchased by another man in traffic. She listens to a radio report about the missing family from the beach and is not bothered about them. She invites another man in her house, and later the motorcyclist examines her and checks her look and eyes. At night, she goes out to find new victim, but meets some robbers who want to steal her van and money. She quickly drives away and meets a man on the street and asks for an address and gives him lift. We see the man has facial tumors which has made his face large, and she asks him what he is doing. He says he shops at night, so people don't make fun of him, and says he doesn't have any friends. The woman asks if he lives alone, and he says yes, and the woman says he has very nice hands. The woman asks if he has ever been with a woman, and the man says no, and she asks to see his hands. She says his hands are very soft and makes him touch her face and neck, and asks if he likes her. The man says yes, and the woman says she lives nearby, and they decide to go to her house. They go up, and we see an alien in black, and they remove their clothes, and the man starts sinking. He vanishes, and the woman dresses again, and decides to leave the house, and sees herself in mirror. She feels bad for the man, and decides to let him go, and leaves him in an open field where he goes towards his home. The motorcyclist comes to know about this, and goes to his house to find him, and the woman escapes. The motorcyclist catches the man and puts him in his car, and his neighbor sees the kidnapping. He drives away seeing her, and the woman drives her van towards mountains and sees a lot of fog. She leaves her car and goes out and enjoys the fog and walks to a restaurant and orders a cake. She eats a bite but is unable to digest it and feels like vomiting and leaves the restaurant. She waits for a bus, and the driver tells her the clothes are not proper for the weather here. She meets a man who asks if she needs any help, and she says yes, and they both get down at a stop. They go to a store and buy some grocery and then walk to the man's house and go inside. Later they watch TV and have some food, but the woman doesn't eat and enjoys some music. At night the man gives her some tea and wishes her good night and leaves, and the woman looks at her body in mirror. The motorcyclist hires 3 more persons to find the woman, and they leave in different directions. Next morning the woman goes out for a walk with the man and come to an abandoned castle. They go inside and have a good time, and the motorcyclists are searching for her, and they come back. The woman asks the man to kiss her, and they start kissing and decide to have sex, and the man removes her clothes. He suddenly realizes something is wrong, and the woman checks herself and sees she has no genitals. She is embarrassed and runs from there and goes towards the forest and starts walking deep in it. She meets a man who lets her to be safe as it will dark soon and says the forest is quite big to get lost easily. She continues her walking and soon finds a hut in forest and decides to go in and sees it is empty. She finds a corner and goes to sleep, and later wakes up realizing someone is touching her. It's the same man from before, and she gets scared and runs away from there and goes in forest. She finds a truck and tries to start it but is unable to do so and see the man coming towards her. She gets down and starts running, and the man follows her and is able to catch her and tries to force her. He tries to rape her and tears her clothes and accidentally tears her skin and gets scared and runs away. The woman gets up and removes her skin to reveal a black alien body with no features. She sits quietly in forest looking at her face, and the man comes back and pours gasoline on her. He then lights a fire, and the woman catches fire and starts running towards the jungle and falls down. She dies, and we see the motorcyclist is still searching for her. Unknown, she has died.